Hello and welcome to our Roux Fitness Community Podcast Profile Show, a Roux Fitness podcast. I am Bradley Schneller, co-owner of Roux Fitness. This is Dr. Jonathan Burke, physical therapist, fitness coach. What else?
Dad,
husband,
dog owner.
Yeah,
Pretty much, yeah.
Part-time
Backup dancer.
Yeah. Jonathan's got moves that you've never seen before, and if you do, they will burn you like the surface of the sun. They're that hot.
That's a little aggressive, but yeah, when I want to bring it, I think we're pretty good.
I think you bring it.
Yeah, appreciate it.
So, today's show, it's all about Jonathan, how he got into fitness, and his views of fitness, and then anything else that comes up. We do have to limit to an hour because him and I both have to work out here in an hour, right? I got to get my fitness on. You?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so I figured this weekend's kind of be a shit show. We got candy tomorrow night. Tomorrow night's Halloween. When you see the show, it'll be past, but...
Yeah, gotta taste test all the candy that the kiddos get.
Are you trick-or-treating?
Yeah, well... I guess depends on the weather because it's supposed to be epic cold front tomorrow.
It's going to be cold. There won't be any rain, but it's going to be cold.
I think possible snow flurries from what I'm hearing. So we'll see what we can do.
So this is our first show in our new podcast studio. We don't have artwork up yet, but that is coming.
Are we not art enough?
We are art enough. I will say it is bothering the shit out of me that we have two different blues on.
Okay.
I actually went and looked to change shirts. But the only shirt I had, I cut the sleeves off, so it's one of those muscle shirts that comes here and you can see your entire side.
I like it. I guess it's good we're both in Roux shirts.
Yeah. I'm not feeling my hair that much today, but...
Oh, yeah, I need a haircut. This comb over makes me look like...
Your hair looks good.
I don't know. It's kind of oldish.
All right, so
7-year-old man.
Let's jump in, okay? People didn't come to hear that, although they will enjoy it. How did you get into... Well, were you fit when you were younger?
No, not even close to fit. I was the fat kid growing up until I was about 12. So growing up, I was always the husky size pants.
I had husky pants.
Man, that was...
Do they make husky pants still? I don't know if they do.
I don't know, but I was always the husky kid. My mom was very sweet. You're big boned. And I thought that was a thing until I find out from the medical community and science, nobody's big boned.
No one says, "Are you big boned?" That you're big boned. I don't think anyone says that anymore.
I was told growing up, it's okay. He's big boned, and that was the thing. I got my husky pants, and I was a big boned fat kid growing up that liked to play sports, and so other than like what we have today with like early specialization, I played everything growing up, football, basketball, and baseball. And just to give you like an insight into how heavy I was, when I was 9, I went out for football, and the age groups were 8, 9, 10, and 11. So I was a 9-year-old going out for football, and I was the biggest kid. I was probably a little bit taller than most, but I was definitely heavier than most 8, 9-year-olds out there. And so there's a age or a weight limit. It's not like today where you would wear a big green dot on your helmet that says, hey, kid's a little heavy, he can't carry the ball. That? Yeah, you can only play on the line.
Really? That's a thing?
In some places, yes.
Okay.
So our playground couldn't fund a team or have a team with enough players for the 8, 9. They're like, he's big enough, just move up to 10, 11s.
What?
So as a 9-year-old, I was well over the weight limit for the 8, 9-year-olds. I moved up to the 10, 11 football team, and I made weight by like 2 pounds on the 10, 11 football team.
Did you get your butt kicked in the 10, 11?
Oh, yeah. So I was very new to football, and these kids have been playing since they were little. So I was a bigger kid. They put me on the line, and I got, to use one of Coach Shane's words, mauled all the time.
Off topic, or maybe not off topic, maybe staying with the topic. And, I said we're going to cover anything and everything in this show today, okay? You're a physical therapist.
Yep.
Doctor of physical therapy, okay? How long have you been in this profession?
About 15 years.
15 years, wow. So you have a lot of experience seeing different things, injuries, stuff like that. You played football when you were a kid. You're now a dad. You have a son. would you let him play tackle football at 9 and 10?
Yeah.
Yeah?
So, yes, I know all the concussion stuff and different things. Yes, I would let him play tackle football as long as I was comfortable with the program and the coaches, or if I was possibly one of the coaches participating. Now, that's if he wants to play and he's aggressive enough and protects himself on the field. I think there's an invaluable lesson that you learn from playing football that you may not learn in other sports, although other sports give a ton of great life lessons that kind of set you up for like hard work and determination. But I think there's something about football that getting knocked down and having to get back up and continue to play and get bumped and bruised, I think that translates over to say Jet gets old enough and he excels really well in basketball. Well, learning that aggressive nature in football when he's little about getting bumped around and having to dish out and be more aggressive and give some, bumping back, I think will translate over into him being aggressive on a basketball court or a baseball field. But I think that's pretty important.
So, for the record, Jonathan played varsity football at Jesuit High School. Go Blue Jays.
Go Blue Jays, a long time ago.
You were defensive end?
Defensive end and then outside linebacker. I too had...
You were small,
yes,
for the record.
Yes.
In high school.
I had, so just for the record, in high school alone, I had 2 known concussions. So I've not had any kind of testing with that as far as like head, but I had 2 concussions, and the stipulations are 1,000 times better today as far as like the return to play. I remember 20 years ago, I had a concussion to where I blacked out for 30 seconds and then was throwing up in the second half. So I didn't play the rest of the second half. I didn't practice, obviously, Sunday, Monday, or Tuesday, and coach said, hey, if you want to play in Saturday's game, you need to practice tonight. And that was all I needed to practice that evening to go play Rummel on Saturday.
And did y'all win or lose?
We won. It was close, like 16-13, but we won. Yeah.
In hindsight, should you have played?
Now, with all the testing done now, that kind of concussion, I would have been out minimum of 2 weeks.
Yeah. Okay.
Minimum of 2 weeks.
All right.
Everything's gotten better medical community wise and around.
So I know Drew Brees, a number of other NFL players talk about how you can actually play flag football up until you're like 14, 15, jump into tackle football, and if you're talented enough, you'll be fine.
Yeah, I don't.
In terms of making it to college, getting a scholarship, developing as a professional player.
I don't disagree with that because you're learning a skill set where I think it could. Yeah, here's a big thing. You got to be talented enough.
Right.
Like, you got to have what it takes in order to make those steps. But if you're an average Joe, kind of run-of-the-mill, and I'll throw myself in there, a run-of-the-mill player, it would have been a huge adjustment going from never playing ball to going to playing at 14, 15, not knowing how to hit somebody and not knowing like what that contact feels like,
right?
That it might make it a hard adjustment because it seems like an uphill battle for a younger kid. But yeah, if you're good enough, you can play. I mean, Jimmy Graham played 2 years of professional or 2 years of organized football or 1 year and is a pro athlete. So I don't disagree like with that comment. You have to be good enough. Like the pros find these guys that are playing pro basketball. Who was it? Antonio Gates played pro basketball, right? Like, I mean, you have some studs out there, but that's not everybody. And not everybody. I mean, the number of kids that play college football is very small compared to the number of kids that play 8th grade and freshman football.
I played tackle football when I was 6 and 7, or 5, 6, 6, 7, something like that. Mm-hmm. And then I got into the 8 and 9-year-olds or 9 and 10. I can't remember, but it was like the third level up. My dad was coaching the team. He put me on kickoffs. I ran down for kickoffs, went like head first trying to spear a kid, and my helmet smoked his helmet, and I was knocked unconscious for like half a practice. That was it. I didn't play again.
I mean, I was fortunate enough. Like I said, I didn't have those injuries till I was a little bit older. Because then, I mean, I might have got pulled out of football. I mean, but everybody's a little bit different.
So you played football in high school. Obviously, you said you were a Husky kid when you were 12.
Yeah.
Was it just like a growth spurt that...
No, so this is funny. So, like, I played football that Little League football team when
Right.
I was 9. I got hurt because I wasn't aggressive. Didn't know how to kind of protect myself on the football field. Got hurt. I didn't play.
Yeah, you go 100 or you don't play.
Right, correct. I didn't play. Got hurt when I was 9. Nothing big. But I didn't play again. Or I did 9. I sat out 10, 11. And I knew I wanted to try to play football in high school. That was kind of one of the things I wanted to do. And I wanted to play football 1 year before I went to high school just to get used
Right.
to contact and some different things. So I'm 12, and I go to play for a 12 and 13-year-old team. And again, I'm still husky. Shocker, right?
Right.
So I have to lose like 15 pounds to make the weight for 12 and 13. I remember, and not that this is advised today, I remember running with a garbage bag on me. I remember going to school I was in 7th grade, going to school, and I'll never forget this. Everybody's eating pizza. I am eating a salad with no salad dressing, and I'm eating Fiber One dry cereal. I dropped the weight and played, and that was kind of like I've never been that chunky kid again since then.
Interesting, though. Like, you did that at such a young age. I don't know many kids that could do that. Was that self-discipline that you wanted to do that, or was that, like, advised by your parents?
Well, I wanted to play football. It wasn't that I wanted to eat Fiber One and salad. I wanted to play football. And no matter, that was the way they kind of guided me dietary-wise to cut the weight to go play.
I think it's awesome. I think it's awesome that you did that, though. But, not that we might give that nutrition advice today as a kid, Fiber One cereal. But, something similar. And I do think, especially in high school, kids should be aware of their nutrition. Because I think far too many kids eat horrendously. And I, for one, was that kid. There's many stories of that. Honey bun fascination, donuts before school.
Yeah.
I used to eat a whole frozen pizza when I got home from school in high school and then eat dinner with my parents.
Yeah.
It was pretty nuts.
I think a lot of times now, though, so with more research and more science to back stuff, they talk about how important nutrition is in healing from injury, how important it is in athletic performance. Back 20 years ago, it was important in athletic performance, but we didn't know nearly as much.
How many kids, though, in 2019, how many kids do you think would be like, oh, I want to play football so bad I'm going to change what I eat and eat salads and stuff like that? Kids today are soft.
I would hope to think that there's kids out there that would do that, but I do think you have to get a little bit uncomfortable, and I think that at such a young age helped me to kind of get used to being uncomfortable now.
Yeah, I feel like that was the catalyst that you needed, right?
Yes, but nowadays it's hey, stuff's a little bit hard. Let me back off. I don't really want this. But I definitely think there's kids out there.
So Jonathan plays football. That's changes his life, right? Goes to college, studying PT in college. Right?
I studied kinesiotherapy.
But what you don't know is that Jonathan was a bodybuilder in college, right?
Well, no. Okay, so
I've seen the pictures. I've seen the pictures.
He threw me a curveball there. No, so I was into working out and fitness. I worked at the rec center as not even like a personal trainer. I was a dude that checked people in and wiped down equipment. So nothing even fancy there, but I had access to the gym, right?
Right.
So I was not necessarily a bodybuilder. I was a frat guy who had a lot of fun, and then this girl broke up with me. So I needed something to do. So the guy who actually ran the gym was like, hey, there's this muscle and fitness like before and after competition. Why don't you get in that? So that was super hard because I worked out twice a day and I had I did get the diet from a bodybuilder, and I ate essentially the same thing every day for 8 weeks while there's a bunch of frat guys partying around me, drinking beer and doing a bunch of crazy stuff that I did not partake in.
For the record, guys, today, right now, when Jonathan wants to lean up, he eats the same thing every day for like 6 weeks.
Yeah, but it's different than what I ate.
Well, yeah.
You
eat the same thing every day.
Yes.
What is it? What do you eat every day?
Big thing that I eat now. So like right now I'm having
2 chicken breasts.
2 or 3 chicken breasts.
2 or 3 chicken breasts.
Broccoli. I'll eat some fruits here and there. But I'm a big meat guy. Yesterday I had blue oak and I had like the double meat platter with the Brussels sprouts. It was legit.
So you would say you're not shy around meat?
No. I see what you did there. I see it.
So can you share those bodybuilding photos with us so we can share them with everybody?
I'll have to find it.
Oh, you know where they are.
I'll have to find it. What he didn't tell you is, so the bodybuilding pictures were great, but I actually made a calendar at the University of Southern Miss, which is pretty fun.
Go Eagles.
Yeah. So guys, y'all are looking at the Mr. September of 2000 in this calendar. I think that was the year, something like that.
That's awesome. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, so if we're looking for art back here, maybe I can get a big blow up and put it back here. Would that be cool, Bradley?
We'll figure something out. We'll put it somewhere. I don't know.
Maybe the bathroom.
Yeah, maybe the bathroom.
Yeah,
so.
that works.
Awesome. Cool. So what kind of changed? Well, let's say you coach CrossFit, among other things, right now.
Mm-hmm.
When did you first get into CrossFit?
So I was in your traditional like bodybuilding split, and I was getting bored. And this is back when I lived in Alabama.
Can you explain for everybody what a bodybuilding's like your typical bodybuilding?
Oh yeah, so like Monday chest, Tuesday maybe back, Wednesday legs, Thursday shoulders, Fridays bis and tris. Something along those lines with your traditional like I'm gonna do the Stairmaster for some cardio type thing. I was getting really bored with that to where I'd come in and I was like, man, I would do like a set. And I was like, I really don't feel like being here. I was like, I left. And I probably went and stopped at Wendy's on the way home and got something to eat.
Did you bottom out at all or no?
I mean, I was pretty like plateaued and pretty like tired of that.
Right.
And then I had a guy that I met in Birmingham that was like, dude, you got to come check out my gym. It's CrossFit. You'll love it. And I was like, any guy. I was that guy that came from like the traditional bodybuilding gym or like regular Globo gym. And I walked in, I was like, I'm going to show these people what's up.
And they showed you.
So we had a workout called, it was the owner of the gym's birthday. So instead of like Filthy 50, it was 35. Old man 35
so
or something.
Like 10 or so movements, 35 reps of everything.
I think it was the same Filthy 50 workout, but with 35 reps. There's a class, it's a Saturday morning. There's a class probably of 20 people, guys and girls alike. Everybody is finished. The owner's wife comes next to me while I'm dying through burpees and is like, you can do this. And in my head, the things I was saying were not nice. And I got smoked bad, and it was like an eye-opening experience. And then I think that Monday I signed up. I was like, well, if this is going to challenge me here,
right?
Like, I mean, I got my ass kicked. It was, I remember it. Yep.
So, I mean, what do you let's say for aesthetics purposes, bodybuilding works.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What do you think would be some of the benefits to CrossFit as opposed to bodybuilding? Now, I will say this, is I feel like, and this depends on the person, but on a more wide array, bodybuilders, whether it's right or wrong, tend to be more honed into their nutrition plan than most CrossFitters.
1,000%. So
right.
What do you always say? Abs are made in the kitchen?
Yeah.
Right? So like these bodybuilders, it is mapped out. It is strategic. Like it is to the T. Certain weeks they're cutting things out of their diet in order to get ready for their show. They're not eating clean. Like when they're prepping for a show, they're not eating clean Monday through Friday and then going to watch a football game and having some beer and getting off their track. They're locked and loaded, right. Especially getting ready for a competition. I don't think it's like that all year round for those guys because I think the professional guys, they have like they'll lose like 30 pounds getting ready for a show, but they'll go through their bulking phase where they pretty much eat everything.
Right, and I mean, we're not here to debate maybe the health benefits to the type of dieting that bodybuilders do, but for one thing, they're honed in and they stick to their plan, and it really gives them great benefits for their purpose.
Right.
And there's one thing that I just can't stress enough to most CrossFitters is like you have to be locked into your nutrition if you want to see the results. I think what people tend to have a problem with here is that they work out super hard. They get super hungry because we lift a lot and we lift heavy and we are super intense. And they're just like, fuck it, I'm going to...
I deserve this bad meal.
Or I'm going to work out, I'm going to work this off. And that doesn't happen.
No, I don't think that happens. I think consistency with your workout is huge, and consistency with your diet, or I don't even want to call it a diet, the way you choose to eat your healthy lifestyle is huge, because it could very well turn into, hey, I ate bad on Saturday, I ate bad on Sunday, I feel like crap on Monday, I don't feel like working out. I'm not working out, why don't I eat like crap again?
Yeah.
And so here's the thing, and I see this with injured athletes or people that can't get into the gym like they want to. They're like, there's no point in eating healthy if I'm not working out. And
quite
essentially, right?
Quite the opposite.
Essentially, when you are injured or you can't make it to the gym because of your schedule, life, parenting, job, whatever it is, your diet needs to be more honed in than when you're going to the gym 3 or 4 days a week. And people, I'm only going to eat healthy when I'm at the gym, because those go hand in hand. You could really quickly put on some pounds, not making it to the gym and still eating like you are going to the gym, or just not even caring at all and eating a bunch of crap food.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that I tend to think happens too, and this is different than CrossFit or than bodybuilding, is people get into CrossFit. It's a whole shit ton of fun. It's hard. It's challenging. They get in it because they want to see maybe aesthetic differences or changes in their body. Mm-hmm. And then it turns into, I want to be stronger. I want to be better, that type of stuff. But it's a lot easier to say, I'm going to compete for time or for reps than their original goal of looking better. Because looking better requires super discipline in the kitchen,
right?
Discipline in the gym,
right?
Hand in hand.
Yeah.
And while the top competitors in CrossFit requires honed in nutrition as well to be a weekend warrior, it's just let me work out hard and follow New England comp train or some bullshit like that, right?
No, I mean, we're humans. We want the easiest route to get where we want to be.
Yeah.
And so your goals you'll kind of constantly change your goals to fit what you want to do and kind of make you feel a little bit better. Well, I really wanted that six pack, so to speak, and that's by no means a measure of how fit you are.
Right.
But I really wanted that six pack, and then all of a sudden you diet hard and work out hard for 4 weeks, and you're like, I see maybe a trace of something in a shadow, if in the right lighting and with the
at
right
5:30 a.m. when I get up
with the right
before I get in the shower and
with the right portrait mode on my phone. It's like, is this ever going to happen? And it's like, okay, well, maybe I'll switch gears to, I just want to get really strong. And so if you want to get really strong, a lot of people eat a little bit more, right?
Yep.
And so it kind of balances out at different things. But, I think what CrossFit has done really well is the community aspect of training. So you constantly change things up. You have friends at the gym that kind of hold you accountable. If you're competitive, you like a little bit of that competitive spirit and going after a workout, but it takes you out of that hey, I'm doing this by myself type thing, which is not easy at all to work out by yourself. If you've ever worked out in a gym setting, community setting, and then tried to catch a workout on your own at the house with nobody and no music blaring and no clock going, or just not somebody else kind of suffering with you through the workout, right. You could have something. I've done it several times. Hey, I'm going to do 5 rounds for time and call it a workout. It'd probably take me 25 minutes. After round 3, I'm breathing a little heavy. I've pushed myself a little bit, done.
Yeah.
So I think the community gives you a little bit of a fun atmosphere, but also holding you accountable. Your friends hold you accountable. Your coaches hold you accountable. It's really hard, I think, for us as individuals to hold ourselves accountable when we're going after any type of goal, because it's always going to challenge you, and it's never easy, and it's a lot of failures and no's to get there.
Yeah.
And it's real easy to say, oh, well, that didn't work.
Yeah, I think one thing that CrossFit does that's better than most modalities of fitness, okay, would be that it makes it really fun.
Mm-hmm.
like you said, the community
Right.
is fantastic. And so somebody that's not used to working out and have that self-discipline, you can get into CrossFit and all of a sudden you can become pretty fit.
Right.
You know? Now it requires all the other stuff to hit those aesthetic goals like we talked about, but you
Right.
become really fit really quickly in a super fun atmosphere, and now you're locked into fitness. So it's almost like a good transition from nothing to something to
Right.
becoming really fit, and then you can start tackling all that other stuff. Now, the biggest difference between that and maybe bodybuilding is people come into a mindset of like, I'm getting ready for a show, we're going to hit all these things at the same time. Boom.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean,
That's the biggest difference, okay? But in terms of long-term habits,
it's an individual sport.
in terms of long-term or developing long-term habits for fitness and making it a lifestyle, I don't think CrossFit can be any better.
No, I agree.
I think the one thing which you have to watch out is maybe some gyms that aren't focused on the entire health aspect of it can make CrossFit easily turn into the kickball of fitness. You know what I mean? Keg on the sidelines.
After every workout, there's a beer and a party, and that's very easy to do.
Yeah.
I mean, there's been plenty of times where after a workout, we have a beer or go home and have a beer. But
it's called Fridays.
Right.
That's different.
Yeah, but it's not, you don't want to get in the habit of that. I think everything, being consistent, and then, when you do get off your healthy eating plan or lifestyle plan, like have it for a meal or a day. Don't let a day turn into a week. Because I've been the guy before, like, hey, diets start on Monday. Okay, it's Monday at lunch and I had some pizza because somebody brought it into the clinic or some cake. Okay, diet starts next Monday, right? So it's like you're going to fall off the wagon or have a bad meal or eat something that you make you feel a little bit bad about yourself or guilty. Well, don't turn that into 5 days of just eating whatever you want.
Right. Yeah, cool, man. So let's get into it. You've been into, not that we haven't gotten into it already, but you've been in physical therapy for 15 years. What are your concentrations?
So, I mean, it's a good question. It's changed. Honestly, it's probably changed every 2 years. Now, my biggest focus and what I'm striving for is I want to help athletes stay in the gym longer, educate them on working around injuries, because it feels pretty good to go after your goals and accomplish them. I think too many people get injured and get discouraged and don't have the right game plan to stay in the gym or to get back in the gym.
No, when you say athletes, do you mean like regular people?
So, yeah. So
because I know you and I differ a little bit.
Yeah, so
I like to call our members. Jonathan calls all people who fitness athletes. I feel like there is a, and it's okay. We can disagree on that.
No, yeah. So
I feel like there's a little bit of pressure, or I don't know. I don't like to call people that just do exercise athletes. But go ahead.
Yeah. So there's different.
No offense, anyone.
There's different calibers. I'm not saying everybody's.
But you mean anyone that fitnesses on a regular basis?
Because here's the thing: when you're trying to fitness, you're trying to better yourself. You're going to push yourself.
Right.
That a person who is sedentary is not going to experience. So we talked about getting uncomfortable. All the people that come into the gym that are working out on a hot day at some point, because it's relative to them, correct?
Right.
At some point, they're getting uncomfortable and probably challenging themselves. I deem you an athlete if you're going to do that.
I can take that.
And push beyond your limits a little bit and try to get uncomfortable and trying to make yourself better. I'll give you an athlete.
Hey, you know that meme that says guys sitting at a desk and it says "change my mind" on the side? You might have just changed my mind.
Fair enough. I like it. I like it.
I appreciate that.
But no, so like the goal is, and here's what happens. People get injured. I have pain in my shoulder. Okay, well, I'm going to stop going to the gym, whatever gym that is, CrossFit, your Globo gym,
Orange Theory, whatever bar.
Whatever, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to rest it for 4 weeks. Great. You rest it, you take out the aggravating thing, or one of the things that was aggravating your shoulder. In those 4 weeks, you're not loading the shoulder. The tendons of the shoulder and rotator cuff become deconditioned. The whole complex of the shoulder.
I got a hair here. It's bothering me.
Wow.
Anyway.
The whole shoulder complex becomes weaker. You're then not working towards any of your goals, Now, here's the thing, though. My shoulder feels better. Let me go back to the gym. You go back to the gym, and you go back because your shoulder's not hurting. You go back to doing what you were doing. And again, in a couple weeks or a couple months, the pain comes back, and it may be even worse than before. And all of a sudden, you go down this rabbit hole of, oh, my goodness, what did I do to my shoulder?
Right.
And then you rest again, and you might repeat this cycle before you get checked out by a healthcare professional. And then all of a sudden, it's like, you know what? Maybe that form of fitness or those activities weren't for me.
Right.
I've seen it happen a lot, and that's one of my biggest frustrations because people just don't know. Because the pain starts in the gym, and everybody goes to the gym, and then all of a sudden, until it bothers them at home, like when they can't sleep at night, then they're panicking and getting stuff checked out. When we could have addressed this 3 weeks, 6 weeks ago, and already been back on track to getting you back to where you want to be, and maybe even surpassing your previous limitations or goals.
So let me just jump back for a second. You said you've been a physical therapist for 15 years. Mm-hmm. You've been CrossFitting for about 10.
Yeah.
Yep. You just heard what his opinion is now, or what your concentration is on what you're trying to do. How has that changed from when you started?
So when I started, I was one of those guys that would tell you, okay, just don't do that. And I thought I was giving it good advice, but it was because I didn't know any better. And through years of practice and training and following other guys and doing different things and learning from some really, really smart people in the field, medicine is always evolving, and there's better ways to approach things than we did a while back. So if you're not constantly reading and revamping or reinventing yourself or doing things a little bit differently in medicine, you kind of get, I guess it's in everything, you kind of get left behind.
Yeah.
But again, it comes back to okay, I'm not giving my clients the best possible advice or the best treatment possible in order for them to meet their goals.
What are a couple things you do to keep up with that new research or reinvent yourself or keep the evolution of you as a physical therapist going?
I think courses. I'm doing an online course right now.
On what?
It is Fundamentals of Therapeutic Exercise, and talks a lot about pain science and different loading principles and RPEs and, pain science stuff, just to better educate myself so I can better educate and have better discussions with my clients. Getting different certifications, finding out some real gurus in the field and following them and learning from them. So truth be told, all the stuff I say, I kind of put it in my own little spiel, but this is all stuff I'm learning. I'm learning.
All of us do that.
Yeah. I'm learning from guys in the field that are phenomenal. But yeah, I think it's constantly trying to get better. And so that's a big thing for me. I don't feel good, or I can get in, and we've talked about this, get in a rut when I am not learning and not pushing myself to learn some more. And that's one of the things. It's okay, just a little trickle of something here. It's okay, that's cool. And I usually feel a little bit better when I'm learning or kind of moving towards a goal instead of just okay, I'm just going to show up for work today.
Yeah. Well, I think though, maybe it's physical therapists or just the entire medical community as a whole. And what I mean is physical therapists educating people. But I feel like there's even a lot of doctors who are starting to subscribe to what you just said. Where before it's just hey, don't do that.
Right.
Well, now it's more of
they still have that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, I think you have some docs out there, and I know about 5 or 10 that we've had discussions, and it's okay, along the same thought process, which is just really cool. It's cool to talk with healthcare professionals that have similar ways of thinking. Of course, we're always going to disagree on some things. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's part of it. But as far as moving forward and doing some different things, it's been really, really cool to sit down with like-minded individuals.
Anything right now that maybe, I wouldn't want to say the medical community, but maybe some fallacies that are occurring right now that, could be different?
So, I mean, one of the common myths is like, hey, your knee shouldn't, and this, I don't know how new this is, but like I still hear it. I've still heard trainers tell their clients this, and it's all in context, but like your knee shouldn't travel over, well, I'll give an example for CrossFit. Your knee shouldn't travel over your toe while performing a squat. Like I've had a couple of clients, athletes tell me that. And I said, okay, so here's the thing. Think of it this way. If your knee doesn't travel forward over your toe when you're doing a front squat or an overhead squat, what is that going to do to your back? What position does that put your back in? Now, you can get away with the knee not traveling over the toe while you're doing a back squat if you push your hips really far back, right? Then the knee doesn't translate forward. But to be really upright in the bottom of a front squat or overhead squat, those knees need to translate forward. If you have a sensitive knee, maybe those aren't the squats we're doing right now while we're working to get you back. Maybe we're doing back squats or box squats or reverse lunges to load the knee in such a way that we're still working strength.
And that could also like depend on your physical makeup, right? Like,
yeah. I mean, so here's the thing: in order to do
lengths and stuff like that, right?
Hip dorsiflexion. Oh, I knew when he said
right?
Yes, when he said he wanted to do a podcast, I figured that dorsiflexion was going to be involved and maybe thoracic rotation. Those are the two words I figured would come up in this.
But no,
podcast.
Seriously, right?
Yes.
I mean, if you have really good dorsiflexion, there's a good chance it's really easy to get your knee out there, right?
Correct. But also, too, so like, if your ankles are a little stiff but your hips move pretty well, you can probably squat pretty well. If your hips are a little stiff but your ankles move pretty well, you can probably squat pretty well. Yeah. So it's like one of those things that kind of help each other out.
So what's another one?
Deadlift. In my opinion, like deadlifting is bad for your back. I use deadlifting in the clinic because most people that are coming to me want to pick stuff up off the ground again.
Right. I've heard a lot of people. So help me out here, okay? Because I've heard a lot of people that maybe, a couple people in the gym, maybe a lot of people out the gym that I know personally that have maybe thrown their back out deadlifting or gotten a herniated disc or something like that. I want to say like deadlift wasn't the problem.
No, it's kind of interesting. We're talking about deadlifts,
but
right?
The doctors say like, hey, you shouldn't do that ever again.
Right. Well,
you don't need to be deadlifting ever again.
We should, as coaches and PTs, be teaching form and technique, and then we're talking about like proper loading strategies and different things of that nature. But if you think about it, so we both have kids. I've seen it 1,000 times. I've seen my mom bend over to pick up my 30-pound son. That's a form of a deadlift, depending on what position you're in. Yeah. Kettlebell deadlift, right? Like, and I see her do that several times in the course of watching the kids.
Right.
So it goes back to like the athlete talk. And my mom is a grandma. She doesn't like that word, by the way. Her name, she goes by Nana. If, say, she hurts her back picking up my grandson, not my son, her grandson. One of the goals in the clinic is going to be, hey, I want to be able to pick him up again.
Right.
How do you think we're going to best mimic that in the clinic in a controlled environment? We're going to do some kettlebell deadlifts, and we might start from a height and work our way back down and teach different strategies in order for her to do that. Because a lot of times with just the general population, they get injured and say you rest. When they feel better, they go back, and it may not be weight training, but they go back to doing what they were doing before, whether it's a walking program, gardening, picking up the grandbaby, and they're not trained, or they've gotten weaker or deconditioned, and now all of a sudden they go to pick them up and they re-injure themselves. So like, I think we need to do a better job of preparing everyone, athletes, for the functionalities of life.
So guys, if you have a herniated disc out there and your doctor told you never to deadlift again, contact Jonathan Burke at Therapeutic Noah. Thank you.
So yes, thank you. So it's kind of funny. There's an athlete on Juggernaut Training, Chad Wesley Smith, I believe. Do you know who I'm talking about? He is a mountain of a man. I think he's back squatted over 1,000 pounds. So he wrote a blog, and he was talking about he had a herniated disc. And he said, you're not a true weightlifter. And I don't know if I agree with this, but like you're not a true weightlifter until you've had some kind of serious back injury. And he's like, that is a learning experience. You learn from it, you heal, you continue to load, and you do some different things, and you work your way back up.
So I want to ask this while I have you here, okay? and I want to put it on film because I disagree with this, but I'm not as knowledgeable as you are, nor do I have the experience. But people with severe scoliosis, lifting weight or no? Should they lift weight or no?
I think they should lift weight. Now, here's the thing. Then it gets tricky, right? It gets tricky into how much weight and what exercises and different things. But that's going to be a little bit different for everybody. Now,
well, absolutely. Should be customized.
So here's the thing. If you're in pain with scoliosis, one, we want to get the pain down and then start to build you.
There's a plan for that.
There's a plan, right? Okay. But if you don't have any pain and you want to lift some weights, I'm cool with that. You know who's got scoliosis? Usain Bolt. Did you know that?
I don't know
yeah.
That.
So like
Emily's got scoliosis. She deadlifted 315.
Right. So like here's the thing. There's more and more literature coming out, and this goes, I think, more to like a posture or a position. Posture and pain are not a direct one-to-one correlation. Mm-hmm. Before they used to say, oh, hey, your neck hurts because you got crappy posture. No, that's not proven. Now, we may change your posture or change your position to decrease some stress while you're getting over the painful area. But if we're trying to change some things up, and research has shown this, once you no longer have pain, a lot of times you resort back to those old positions and old postures.
Yeah. So, and I know I've heard you say this, and I just want to put it on the record here and make sure this is true. Like, as long as you're not feeling pain, go ahead and do the work, right?
Yeah. So
that's a loose interpretation.
Yes. Why don't you clear that up? So for instance, where it gets tricky for the athlete coming back from an injury, and that's probably what we're talking about, is coming back from an injury.
Well, that or someone with maybe scoliosis or had a herniated disc, now they're coming back.
So as we're building to get back, we know there's going to be some ups and downs, some hills and valleys on the return process back, right? So a lot of times the biggest thing that we see athletes have trouble with is they're feeling better. So what they'll do is they'll go to the gym. I'm feeling better. Let me test it out.
Right.
And they'll push. And here's the problem. During the workout, they don't feel anything. Blood's flowing. Everything's moving well. They don't feel anything, so they go. Later that night and the next day, they're like, oh, my goodness. Like, I really did something wrong. A lot of times in the athletic population, barring any kind of big traumatic injury, it can be simply we did too much. Like, we weren't ready our capacity was not what we thought it was, and we did too much. So not only do I want to know if you're having pain during a movement, if you have pain during a movement, there's a few things we can do. We can change your position, we can change the range of motion, we can change the weight, and we can change the speed. If you change all those 4 variables and you're still having pain, maybe that exercise isn't ready. You're not ready for that exercise at that time, right? But here's the tricky part. Say you do the exercise and you don't feel pain, so you go. And then later on, you have the painful response that we're not want too much pain. What was it? Was it the 5 exercises we did? Was it the rep scheme? Was it the weights? Mm-hmm. So we have to dial back and kind of piece that puzzle together and peel back some layers and try to go at it from a little bit different direction. Does that kind of answer?
No, that answers it perfectly. And I kind of want to end there, although I could keep going for another 45 minutes. Jonathan and I have to go work out. But I want to end with this. I ask everybody, what's some recommendations that you would have for someone who's thinking about working out that hasn't quite made the jump yet? I want to slightly change that for you specifically and say someone who thinks they have limitations and they're afraid to put themselves into this type of environment, whether it's CrossFit, sculpt, endurance, functional bodybuilding, or boxing. What would your recommendation be for starting?
Like somebody whose capacity is very low, just getting off the couch?
Yeah, they're afraid to start because they might have some type of limitation.
Okay.
And need modification.
So it would just be to start doing it and to go out there and do it and be patient with yourself. I often tell people this, and I tell people to run your own race, so to speak, because a lot of times you'll get in a gym setting and you get excited and you're starting to do some things. Well, I can't do this like so-and-so. That's okay. That's fine. You're not supposed to. Like, I can't do this either. Okay? Like, if we're all in this to get in better shape, increase our time here on earth, spend, quality time with our kids and families and play like we want to play, you should be exercising. Now, it's okay to modify things. I modify things. Bradley, all the coaches modify stuff. Athletes will modify things at certain times. You should be proud of yourself, one, for stepping in and starting to do some work. But your ramp up should be non-consecutive days. If you're coming from where your baseline is super low, maybe we're doing 2 days a week, non-consecutive days, and walking on the other days or doing some other form. Because what happens is you finally get excited and you go to the gym. And all of a sudden, you're coming off the couch. No previous lifting background. All of a sudden, you're hitting 5 days a week. And your form and technique isn't there. And you're a competitive person and you're looking next to you. Oh, I can do more. I can do more. And then that's when we start to overload our tendons and we start to see some of this like aches and pains. Yep. And you get discouraged and you're like, oh, and then you have to modify. Right? But then you have to modify some more stuff and you're like, oh, is it even worth it? And then we go back to I'm going to rest and then I really want to get back. And you start this whole like rabbit hole down the rabbit hole cycle and it's just not a good place to be. Your ramp up back from an injury or start a new workout program should always be like this.
So crawl before you walk,
yeah.
Before you run.
Yeah.
But before you do any of that, you got to jump out the crib, right?
Yeah. And so here's the thing. In CrossFit, in some of these different gyms, they do some really cool stuff. You got to get really good at the basics first. Like if you don't have a pretty good squat and it doesn't feel comfortable, like a front squat, why are we trying to squat clean?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If you can't overhead squat, why are we trying to squat snatch?
I say this all the time, and we'll kind of end here, is like, why are you, if you're out there and you're hammering away trying to learn some type of gymnastic kipping, whether it's regular kip or butterfly pull-up, and you don't have consecutive strict pull-ups, what are you doing?
Yep. You are just setting yourself up for an injury.
Yeah. So it's been a lot of fun, guys. If you want to know more about Jonathan, where can they follow you on Instagram?
J Burke DPT, also Therapedia NOLA and Therapedia Mid-City.
Awesome. It's been a whole lot of fun. We hope you enjoyed this episode. We'll see more of this guy. This worked out really well. Hope y'all have a great day. Bye.
Cool, man.